Hey, I'm Christina. Welcome to The Void, a YouTube channel dedicated to conversations with interesting musical artists both here in Australia and around the world. Tonight I thought I'd share some insights from some female musicians that I've spoken to over the years. First up, we've got Shirley Manson of Garbage, who has an interesting theory as to why pop music has been the dominating force in the modern age. Next up, we've got Virginia from Lillye, a Sydney band putting together their debut album. Virginia is a powerhouse of a rock singer and definitely worth checking out live. Next up, we've got Skarlett Saramore, who's a drummer who's been playing in a myriad of bands since she was about 13 years old, and she's currently putting together a brand new project called Particles, so definitely keep an eye out for that one. Next up, we've got Laura from Kylesa, a Sabbathian riff lord of the highest order, who we catch up with very briefly backstage at a festival, with Des from High on Fire and also Sarah Taylor of Youth Code, who was out tour managing at the time. Next up, we've got a couple of singers known for brutal death growls. So we've got Angela Gossow of the band Arch Enemy. She fronted the band for 14 years and became a real icon of the genre. Swedish melodic death metal. Yeah, she's a legend. And next up, we've got Karina from a Melbourne band called High Tension, another singer with a brutal voice, electric stage presence. They're one of the hottest bands in Australia right now. Great songs. Another band you really have to see live to kind of have the full experience. So we're coming up to 60 episodes here on The Void. Plenty to explore if you like what you see. Got everything from flashback interviews with like Motorhead and Monster Magnet through to some new stuff with Australian bands on the international circuit. So Nabla of Scaris, King Parrot, the Bennies. Plenty to explore. Enter The Void.
I feel like just over the last decade, pop music has been the sort of most dominating force for whatever reason in the music scene. And there's been a lot of women who are at the top of the charts as a result of that. But I think what someone like me or Hayley feel is that there are very few women who are wanting to agitate, I guess, or
be rock musicians essentially.
And not just be sort of pretty entertainers, who are saying the right things and doing the right things and wearing the right things. And when I grew up, all the women I looked up to were sort of provocateurs, and they were in argument with what was going on in the mainstream, and there seems to be a lack of that kind of dialogue right now for whatever reason. I don't know. I have a theory that it's because I feel the world got very conservative after September 11th, because when people feel scared, their natural tendency is to be conservative, and pop music always enjoys a lot of popularity at a time when people are feeling a little
frightened,
unsafe.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? What do you think?
Well, Shirley has she has been influenced by some of the greatest women in rock, like Patti Smith and Chrissie Hynde, and now Shirley is a role model.
I think in a funny way, someone like Patti Smith and Chrissie Hynde, like these great icons of rock music, they all wanted to be boys, or they wanted to hang with the boys. They didn't want to wear pretty frocks and be in all the fashion magazines and be called beautiful and sexy. They didn't give a shit. And I think, unfortunately, right now, all women seem to care about is how beautiful they are, and they're taking pictures of themselves constantly with their iPhones, and there's just a fatigue of narcissism.
It's like the internet, like social media and stuff. It's like voyeurism and narcissism matched together, and it becomes this horrible kind of weird force. So I don't know.
And I don't understand why more girls don't want to hang out at a concert like this where there's all these hot boys in rock bands.
It's true, like it's that whole Wayne's World thing, the swing swing. I mean, really.
It's all here. It's all here, girls. I'm telling you.
It is good to see, these things be told through female voices as well.
Absolutely. I think, women can be more honest about things,
We're all liars.
Pretty much. No, and I think it's refreshing when you see a woman up there, you know, giving it a bit of balls.
No, but it's true. There aren't many a rock voice is a very different animal to a pop voice, and it's a lot more about emotion.
That's why Pink is so respected and loved, you know, because she just puts her balls on the line and says it how it is, and then there's no fear about it.
Bennett actually recently did the Led Zeppelin, big Led Zeppelin night in Melbourne.
It's where I first saw Virginia sing.
Really?
Yeah. So
she was playing the Led Zeppelin show.
she was at State Theatre singing her ass off, chasing, you know, one of the best guitarists in Australia around, and we were like, who the fuck is this girl? Literally, I said those words, who the fuck is that girl?
Let's hear it.
Woo!
Girl power. Really? What is this, a Spice Girls movie? I don't know. Who the fuck are you?
There is fuck all women on this bill.
There's a lot of fucking hot sluts walking around with dudes, though.
Yeah, there's a fuckload of them. They're pretty much a guarantee.
Yeah. Working chicks on this tour, I know about like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
You're one of them, and you're doing good, man.
Yeah, he's doing a good job.
Good. There's another working woman on this tour. Hi.
Yay! Hey, no, just come say hey. It's just
so good. Come here.
Hey.
Hey, face to the camera.
Wow. Now that was super cool. Dad's on
You like that?
right now.
Do you have a good show?
Yeah.
Woo!
Cheers.
We're just saying there's fuck all female musicians on this tour, so you're rapping, and good on you for being awesome.
You're welcome.
Yeah, anytime.
You really need to know what you want, and you just make them very clear what you want, because otherwise people try to walk all over you, you know, like, hey, come sweetie pie, like, I'm not your fucking honey pie, you know, it's like, that's basically have to make, yeah, that's why I understand why Sharon Osbourne is as hard as she is. I think she's been fighting her way in a, you know, in a field where it's just guys around, and just like, you have to be twice as tough sometimes. And sometimes I really have to sit down and take a deep breath and like remember my more female traits, you know, because I'm a nice person, I think, but you easily become a really hard cookie. It's just like, because it happens to you. But I mean, nowadays I get a lot of respect. It's different when you start out, because you kind of have to fight for your place, but now I'm established, and I can take back with a hard edge, really. It's like, I can take it more easy, because people know me now, and they know what they can do and what they can't, and I get more respect nowadays, I think, after 7 years.
Where are the best faces you've seen on tour? Like, when they see you kind of let rip?
I get a lot of feedback from people that that are in the audience, people I know, and then they'll overhear things. I remember when we played that show in Wollongong, this young gentleman came up to me and said, "Oh, when you came on stage with that leather dress, I was just like, fuck, I don't know what the fuck is this?" You know, so there's already that established prejudice, I guess, that they're not going to like it. Because it's a different element, and they're probably expecting like some operatic female thing or whatever. Oh, and then he was just like, "Oh, but you know, fuck, I loved it." One of my favorite ones is my husband we were supporting King Parrot, and
they're a great band. They're probably the funnest band to shoot ever.
I absolutely love King Parrot to bits, and I have used this as a joke when we were on tour with them, that they have really taken us under their wing, and they invited us to support them at their Northcote show, and this was after they had just done their shit on the liver thing. So I was like already a massive fan, and then we got to tour with them, which was really incredible. But when we supported them, my husband was telling me, like, he was in the crowd, and a King Parrot fan was like, "Oh man, this is really bad," but like, he was talking to a mate and he was just listening in. He was like, "This is really bad," but when that Asian girl came out, I was just like, "Oh fuck, this is gonna be shit." And he's like, oh, King Parrot better be good though because High Tension's getting all my merch money. So, you know, like that's nice.
It's really exciting to kind of discover there is this whole network of great female musicians in this country. Like I've been kind of traveling around shooting stuff with like Hits, who are up in Brisbane. Their lead guitarist, she's just like this ultimate shredder. And there's like Ash Curley and Bottlecock. She's also like, you know, has more pedals than anyone.
I need to know this, and all more girls do. It's cool.
Yeah, well, it's, I think one of the big reasons that there is kind of this gender imbalance, I think, with film and with music is there's not enough people setting an example and saying, hey, you can do this. Like, this is a real option. And I think I was talking to someone about it with Australian bands and festivals, how important it is to have Australian bands at festivals, because it gives like, you know, that kid in the crowd like, oh man, I'm from like Sydney or I'm from like Hobart. Oh man, it could be me up there. Like it's a really big deal.
It definitely matters, and that's why I respect people and females in the industry at the moment. Like all it takes is a female to really just push themselves out there and get out of that male kind of world that you can't help but get stuck in, because like, I don't know, I've never played a bill with a full girl lineup even. Like, it's just not a thing. And it's happening. It's more girls are learning that we're not so alone and learning that we need to bond together more instead of thinking that we need to tear each other apart. Australia is a bit different than other females I've talked to around the world with this kind of topic. But in Australia, I just feel like a little bit of ego, even including myself, like an ego with so many females gets in the way because we have to be that way against males to stand up for ourselves. Like, no joke, like 2 gigs ago, like I've been drumming since I was 13 years old, like playing gigs since I was 13 years old. And honestly, two or 3 weeks ago, the last gig, some guy just went, oh, hon, are you carrying your boyfriend's stuff? Can I help you? And like, I still get that to this day and age. And like, so for like men or other people, even other females to say that it's still not an issue is completely fucking hilarious.
What's been your favourite video to do?
Oh, definitely Bully.
Yeah.
So Bully was quite a special song because normally when we write songs, it starts with a riff and it's usually like either Matt or at the time Ash coming up with something and then we build on that. I'm very like a backseat driver and often I will like, you know, refuse to like go ahead with the riff if I'm not into it.
This sucks.
It's not heavy enough or whatever. Yeah. But for Bully specifically, I had this very like clear idea of what I wanted, and I was just like, right, this is what we're gonna do. I was like, Damien, play this, like this beat that is this BPM. Ash, you do something really sleazy, and Matt, you just like, I don't know, do whatever the fuck you do. And you know, it really came together. So that was, you know, and that was like, it's one of my favorite songs, and
it's so good.
And on that album, it was like, it's definitely one of my favorites and one of my favorites to play because it's really hypnotic and it's sort of like, so for that particular song, that was when I felt like, you know, I that's when I felt like that I controlled that song.
You're in the pocket.
That was we orchestrated that together, but I felt good about it being a different approach.
Well, yeah.
So
you externalized what you were feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
into people. Like,
yeah,
like
exactly. But when we wrote that song and we were talking about the video, we had all these ideas because it was like dictated by when we played that song live. It just kind of would.
It's got groove.
Yeah, it's got this groove, and so the guys had all these ideas, and then I'd kind of like contemplated about like, no, this song feels like it's like a fight, like it's really like I just want to punch shit. And then I never really approached anything like as a woman trying to sort of navigate being like in this very like male dominated environments. I never saw it as a hindrance because I had this like theory in my head that if I don't act like it's a problem, no one's going to notice. No one's going to
It's like being a director.
no one's
The main
going
thing is showing up.
no one's going to treat me differently if I see myself as an equal. So I was always very reluctant to talk, to kind of like deep down reflect on some of the anxieties that I had, some of the like self-doubts that I had. So it kind of like made me think about, I guess, why I was afraid to start a hardcore band, because I felt like, or start a heavy band, because I honestly felt that, you know,
That perception.
you know, well, it's like those two examples of those dudes like, oh, what the fuck is this going to be? And it is that. It's like, how do we kind of like respond to you know, how can I exist on something that's like totally established? And I'm not saying I'm the only woman that does this, but you know, that was
You're a rarity, though.
Well, it was just my personal experience of how I navigated through all of that, and so it was very it was like I felt like I had turned a leaf when I addressed that that issue that I had within myself, and I just wrote a very like simple email explaining, like, you know, and I thought I was really afraid like how people would react, but I invited a couple of girls that I really looked up to, like Yelena from Outright and some of my really close friends, and we like, you know, Matt like spoke with some MMA fighters, and we were having the most deepest conversations. And when we shot that video, I felt that I had missed the sisterhood so much, and like feeling that support of other women. And it was almost like, because it was something that I'd never really addressed properly, just personally, I didn't even have to communicate anything, but I almost like was brought to tears when I saw all these like girls rock up on a Saturday. Some of them like totally hungover, and they're like there because they knew
they want to be a part of this.
They knew what the fuck I was going on about, and I was so afraid of like talking about it.
It's funny. It's like there's this aggression. It's like the flip of that is there is this support, and there is this like, you know, women kind of going, wow, like you're doing it, and I feel that, and you're lifting us all. Like, you know what I mean?
It is that like feeling that embrace, and you know, I feel it all the time. Like I'm so proud of women, you know, all the time, and you know, I feel, you know, I can get very emotional or teary if I hear of like a story that I can totally relate to, because we've suffered through all of that. Like I feel like there's
we share a lot of the same suffering.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, even like if I'm like close with a woman, I can feel like if they have period pain. Like I have felt period pain by proxy.
That's pretty interesting.
You know, and things like that. There's all these like incredible, powerful elements that women have.
We have a 7 times stronger
that
sense of smell.
Exactly. And that like, and I felt like that day, I just felt like this is what I have missed, and now like I just felt like so much more embraced, and I just felt like so much comfortable with my voice because I didn't feel so alone, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes